and welcome to Women in Workforce. I'm Carrie Rosingana, and I'm the CEO of Capital Area Michigan Works here in the Greater Lansing region. I'll be your host as we bring together women in positions of leadership to shine a spotlight on their workforce impacts, while also addressing and discussing the disparities and challenges that can be really unique to women in the workforce. Thanks so much for joining us today.
And I'm Kate Snyder. I'm the CEO and founder at Piper & Gold Public Relations. I get to join Carrie each episode as co-host. We've known each other for decades, working in workforce development together and both going to Michigan State University.
Go White.
And we are very excited to be back hosting for season 2 and give us this opportunity to have these conversations professionally and personally. And I can already tell you it's going to be a delightful day on the couch based on getting ready. So let's dive in.
So each episode, we're going to have a roundtable style discussion with our fellow community leaders who are joining us today. And today we're really also fortunate to be at Risky Studios here in East Lansing, Michigan. And we're so grateful that you've chosen to join us. So we're ready.
Let's do it. So we have some amazing female leaders on this couch. I am absolutely thrilled to have the three of you here and together. And when we get people with fantastic backgrounds, our intros alone could fill that whole episode, which is why we're going to challenge you to introduce yourselves by summing up your professional biography in a sentence. And then we're going to ask you to tell us kind of what's behind that bio. What don't we see in that professional bio sentence? Carrie, you want to start us off?
Yeah, sure. I think it's important to mention, too, we really want to normalize. We're humans. We're leaders, but we're humans too, right? At the end of the day. And so that's the behind the bio piece that we think is important. So yeah, I'm happy to start. I have spent my career working with humans. I started my career working with little ones as an early educator and have been working in workforce development at Capital Area Michigan Works since 2007. So my career is around helping people. Behind the bio, I am the mom to a 10-year-old daughter who is feisty and sassy and confident, and she is a future leader in and of herself. So everything I do through the lens of wanting to have her be proud of me and to know there's opportunities ahead.
Oh my gosh, that one's going to make me cry. So sweet. She has a wonderful name, and she's an amazing young child. Okay, so mine is that I have spent my career trying to protect humans and work toward what I perceive to be injustices, work toward erasing and eliminating those injustices, whether that was in public service or whether that is, now in the way that I get to work with different clients and building a team of people that can do so much more than I could ever do alone and get the chance to work with all these different organizations, so much more than, working within a single organization. Behind the bio, I don't often include my son in my behind the bio. I don't quite know why. Maybe it's because behind the bio, I love being a mom. And I did not expect that. Not a particularly maternal human.
No judgment here.
Not a particularly maternal human. But I love being like that particular human's mom. And I also know I'm the person, I don't think I was guaranteed to like my kid. Like if my kid and I didn't get on, I'd love them and that'd be great. But I just really like my particular kid. And so behind the bio, I really enjoy hanging out with him and momming with him and growing with him and teaching him. We talk a lot about the things we value, social justice. We sing a lot of 90s hip hop songs. He's very adept at code switching with swear words that he is not.
You've taught him well.
Yes. You do not swear in front of grandmas or teachers. So yeah, it's just, I really enjoy it. It's really fucking fun, I swear, which is why they were like,
we noticed.
Yeah, that's gonna happen.
We
So that's why behind the bio, I love I love mom and that kid. So.
Well, I'm really fortunate. I get to introduce our first guest, which is Barb Byrum, our Ingham County Clerk. Thanks for joining us today, Barb. We're really glad to have you here. So tell us, what's your bio and what's behind the bio?
So my bio is probably small business owner turned elected official who isn't afraid to speak her mind and stand up for what I believe is right. The behind the bio part is I'm a scuba diver.
Wait, what?
Yeah, and I'm a runner. And
My choice.
yes, yes, I know it's hard to believe. Yeah. And I'm actually, I think an introvert. Realistically, like when I get home, I know it's hard because when I get home, I am done. I'm
social battery.
Yeah. Like you run out of spoons, I think is the metaphor or something like that.
Yeah.
And so when I'm home, I'm all done. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today. And
Yeah.
I had no idea you were a scuba diver. Would never have guessed that.
All right, so I'm thrilled to get to introduce you to Dr. Adenike Shoyinka, the Chief Medical Health Officer, the Ingham County Health Department. I've had the chance to hear you speak at press events and just have so much respect and admiration for both your role and you as a professional. So can you share with everyone else your one-sentence bio and what's behind that?
So, as I was listening to the two of you, at least I could relate in the context of I try to help humans too, right? By virtue of what I do. So I started my career as a clinical physician doing infectious diseases and eventually figured that my interaction with one-on-one was great to make people feel better, but recognizing that public health was more effective so I can help more people at the same time. And so now I call myself a public health physician. And that piece has morphed into other opportunities in terms of being more administrative and having the opportunity to influence the health of our community. And so it's just an honor to be able to do that. Behind the bio, I can't beat that scuba diver.
Scuba diving is going to be the win for the day.
Yeah, it's like, I'm like, okay, what do I do? But, like I said before, I love entertaining people. So that's part of we were talking about cooking before. Now I've moved away from the cooking piece, but I love to have people around me, feed them, make them feel comfortable, and just talk. And we could do that for hours.
Oh, sounds bliss.
That sounds delightful.
So you're all invited to my house.
Oh,
invitation number one. Yeah, and I will cook for you, even though. So I promise.
Rachel will bring the Red Bull.
And you can bring the beer.
I got that.
Well, I get to introduce our final guest today. So Rachel Willis is the president of the Lansing School Board of Education, and I am so thrilled to have you here because I know the impact that you're making in the district, and I know the work that you're doing is so crucial to make sure that we're preparing our little babies and our little kiddos to be successful as adults. So thank you so much for spending some time with us, and I'd love to have you share your bio and what's behind your bio.
Yeah, so about me and my why and how I got into this space. So I am a social worker by trade. Everything that I do is around child welfare, helping children. And I strongly believe that every child deserves a chance to be a child and to be in that space and to grow and have every opportunity afforded to them. So that's why my interest has been in how can I impact policies and procedures and structures so that our kids have the best structures in place for them. So that's what drives me on the school board. That's what drives me in my day job. I work at the Department of Health and Human Services, working in that child welfare realm. And it's all about, I reflect on how I was raised in my childhood and what was offered to me. So that's a great segue to what's behind my bio. I can't talk about who I am today without giving homage to my family and especially my mother. my mother set a great example for me, and she was a community activist, and she showed me what it was like to, if there's not a seat at the table for you, you go find that seat, you make that seat. It's interesting, when my mom was eulogized at her funeral, the person that eulogized her was like, you know, you look at the letters after someone's name, and my mom earned a bachelor's degree. She was the first person in her family to earn a bachelor's degree. And the person that eulogized her was like, but I see a president, a CEO, a mom, like there's so many more things that you become more than just like the letters behind your name. And like, that's what I want to live up to, and that's what's behind my bio. Oh, and I have a kid. I have a kid too. I forgot. I like her. I like her too. I wanted to be a mom. So like behind the bio, like my social battery drains when I get home, except for my kid. Aww. She's like the only one that gets like mom off the couch, because I could doom scroll all night if it was not for my child.
Yeah.
I hate physical touch. I know, y'all. It's okay. I'm neurospicy. So physical touch.
I need to write that down.
Physical touch, eye contact, actual emotions, not things for me. But except for my kid.
Right.
That kid can crawl all over me, hug me all dang day. And I think it's someone told me once, we share literal scientific material.
Right. I made you.
So
literally.
It's okay.
It's different.
Right.
It's just that extension. So, it's like, hugging myself. That I'm fine with.
Little self-love there, Kate.
Don't hug me, please. I force myself to hug people because I feel like I'm supposed to.
Well, thank you for the hug when I first walked in.
You're welcome. It's weird for me, but I do it because I think I'm supposed to.
My kid has that. I heard this quote one day, that one day you'll put your child down and it'll be the last time that you pick them up.
Don't say that.
I know, right?
Don't say that.
So now I'm like, there's these things she does where I don't, like, she calls her long sleeve shirts big sleeves, and I want them to be big sleeves forever. Like, I don't want to correct her. I want that to be the cute thing that she does for her, because I'm like, oh my goodness, one day you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Do I want to make you macaroni and cheese at 1 o'clock in the morning? No, I do not. I want you to have eaten the dinner that I made for you at 6 p.m. But one day you're not going to need me to make your macaroni and cheese. So maybe just this once. Is my child spoiled? Also, conversation for another day. Anyway.
Tree mouse.
Very relatable. Completely.
Tree mouse. My favorite one. Squirrels. Tree mouse.
Oh, see? You don't want to correct that.
You're like, solid. That is
squirrels
logic.
Squirrels are a tree mouse.
Total
But
sense.
also tree mouse.
Fine.
And you will
Forever.
always remember them.
Exactly.
Even after they stop
I know.
saying those things.
Big sleeves.
You might have to remind them.
I know.
Like, you used to say
That's what
that,
I
and
do.
they'll be like,
That's what
no.
I do.
My mom just did an adorable recently, remind me of something that happened when we were wall neighbors. Carrie and I used to share a wall. And my mom reminded
In apartments,
me.
to be clear.
Yeah,
we didn't
it was
just have a random wall.
one wall that we just shared.
Glad it wasn't a cell.
Yes,
so.
exactly. That's why I was clarifying.
Thank you.
We had a studio apartment and we just built a wall in the middle of it. No, we had, townhouses right next to each other. And my mom reminded me a story of when I lived in those townhouses and my cats used to drag laundry around the house. And I was like, oh my gosh, that memory did not exist until you reminded me of the hilarity of my clothing dragging cats. So y'all, our first season, we had 5 questions that we would talk through, big career, workforce, and we never ever made it past 1.
Oh, sure.
So this season, we shall pull 1 question out to talk about, and that question is, of all the challenges women face in the workforce today, which of those challenges is the most personal to you? All the different disparities, challenges we face today, which is your sort of personal passion one? Which one hits you the most personally? You look like you had a good nod
So,
there.
well,
I saw that too,
You
Kate.
so one thing I didn't mention behind my bio is that I have a kid too.
Oh.
One child, she's grown, she just turned 20, and it's like, oh my God, when did that happen? She's officially an adult, which is really hard. But being my one child and going through training and work and working through my career, she sometimes tells me that she's been traumatized and will never, recover from it because it was just hard to navigate life with her. And so when I look at where I am now and the opportunities that I've had, which I do not take for granted, it makes you wonder sometimes what sacrifices were made in that space.
Yes.
And when I think of it in the context of sacrifice, the way we talk about the workforce and women in the workforce today is not what we were talking about 10, 20 years ago. So now we can talk about some things more clearly, more freely. We're not where we want to be, but it's easier to talk about, I need to run home and pick up my kid. When I was in residency training, if my kid was sick, I needed to find someone because I needed to see my patients or, those kind of things. And so I hardly had a chance to go to school activities and things like that because there was this expectation. And when I think back now, I'm like, who put that expectation on me? Was it that I just felt like I couldn't ask for those opportunities? It probably was partially that too, to be able to stand up and say, I need to do this for my family. Maybe not every day, but once in a while. So those are the things I think about. And so that's really important for me in the context of the women that I work with today. And that's an interesting balance too, because sometimes work needs to be done too. And how do you find that perfect balance to accommodate and make sure that people are working at their best while at the same time acknowledging that we all have lives and families that are way more important, quite frankly, than the work that we do at the end of the day.
I can empathize so deeply with that. I was speaking with my therapist similarly, on those kind of finding that balance and the sacrifices that come as being a CEO and a small business owner and knowing that so many people's livelihoods are on your shoulders. Like, if I fail, I'm not just failing myself or my family. Like I'm failing each of these families and all of our clients and that kind of stuff. And one of the things that she challenged me to do that I don't do well enough, but I feel like it helped me even, was to talk to Wilson, my son, about work in a way where he understands like what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
And I had never done that before. I was like, yeah, mommy goes to work. What do I do? I work in public relations. I'm a CEO. I blah, blah, blah. And instead it became like to actually tell him, like, what did you do today? Today, I gave some ideas for a group to help people understand what harm reduction is. Harm reduction is understanding that addiction is a disease and that, that do or don't isn't possible for some people's brains and bodies. So how do we help them be as safe as they can be? Or I helped, people, I talk all the time because it's so understandable about Michigan Works, right? Like today I helped put together an event where people who want a different job or who are looking for a job could come and talk to people who have jobs and are hiring. And like, I just had never broken down my job to kindergarten level and talked about it. And it was so healthy for me because I was like, oh, dang, what I do matters. And sometimes you'll never feel 100% that the sacrifices were worth it. But it helps a tiny bit on those days.
Can I just say, though, that the way you just described harm reduction,
Yes.
I want to hire you. The health department.
That's why she's in public relations.
Yeah. Real good at her job.
You did that. You knocked it out of.
Learned it from y'all, so thank you. Can't take credit for that. John Oliver and the Ingham County Health Department. That's how I know how to talk about harm reduction, folks. Pretty much everything I learned is from amazing clients and John Oliver. So, all right. Other folks, like, what are some of those personal challenges?
So I would say mine is all around like that motherhood space, and it's really interesting because I want to be mindful of talking about being a woman in workforce and success, even if parenting is not in your your trajectory or direct sphere of obligations or things that you do outside of
I
work.
love the phrase, your direct sphere of obligations.
Yeah. But it's, I was just saying to somebody the other day that the 48-hour weekend is not a trade-off for the 40-plus-hour work week. Like, the other day, I was like, so I work a minimum of 40 hours. That's not the commute. That's not any other time. That's not any prep. That's not anything else. And you get 48 hours to do everything else unless you make time in that time of day. And so there's so many things that can go into that. What's in your direct sphere of obligation outside of your what you're doing to potentially collect a paycheck or make ends meet. There's a couple things that I think about a lot. So, like, I remember growing up, I remember my mom worked. Like, I remember mom had to go to work. Mom would have to drop us off at school to go to work. I remember going to daycare. I remember doing all these things. My mom was very, very creative, and she was on the PTA, and my father was in law enforcement. So they would do their schedules, like, way ahead in advance. Like, you have their schedules for months. So because she was on the PTA, she would schedule stuff on my dad's day off. Like field trips, carnivals. And so then she would schedule it. We had black Santas because my dad would be Santa at the holiday parties. Like,
awesome.
because she would make sure that if she knew she couldn't be there, she would just schedule stuff. My dad drove for all of our field trips. So I remember these things, like, where my mom was creative about, like, well, if I can't be there, I know if I schedule it on dad's day off, he can do it. And he did. He drove for all the stuff. Took us to our appointments. She would do all of those things. And then I also remember that hasn't stopped me from feeling guilty. So my child, one day she drew a family picture, and the family picture was us all at the pool, and it was her and her dad in the pool, and I was on the sides working. I was like, nope, never doing that again. Never doing that again. So it's about, how do I control what's in my immediate sphere and have that influence around what I do in the workforce. And so I think about, like, myself as a leader in my position. I just keep thinking, for my staff, what can I do for them, what I would have wanted somebody to do for me. So, like, I'm so thankful we've evolved a little bit so that I create a culture so that my staff are not afraid to tell me, my school called. Okay, bye. Bye. Your kid's school called. Bye. Like, that's first. Like, I want, because when I needed that to happen to me, that happened for me. And so I'm just very grateful for that. And I really like to be able to extend that. Something else that, like, just drives me nuts. I have a staff member who COVID is working remotely. We made some changes and we had to have some in-person meetings. Well, her child hasn't transitioned off of nursing. And I was like, I cannot believe that I, as a woman, have to tell another woman that she has to make arrangements to get her child to bottle feed so that she can come to work. Like, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe it. That just drives me insane. But we made it work, and her child is now okay, and we were able, but, like, just the fact that we are still trying to have that conversation and make accommodations is fascinating. But
and championing, like, a more, a broader mindset in what we celebrate and how we celebrate. Like, we have a very celebratory team at our office. We're always celebrating things, but as our team age range has gotten wider, we came to this realization. It's like, yeah, you celebrate birthdays, but we also celebrate, you know, when someone gets engaged, someone gets married, someone has a baby. Well, those aren't all life events that are important to everyone. And so how do we get to know each person and widen what we're celebrating? There, you know, are many people that aren't at a phase where marriage and babies are that part of their life or don't want it to be. There are people that are beyond that phase. So we are celebrating, 18 years of sobriety. We're celebrating getting a new apartment and finding one that has a washer dryer unit in it. That was very clutch for that apartment hunter. We're celebrating people getting their first house or people getting a new car, people completing degrees, things like that. Like, broadening what can we celebrate, what should we celebrate, so that we do normalize, like, recognizing that there are accommodations in all sorts of different areas, whether that's, parental caretaking, or that's, the kids' school calls. We have to have that flexibility and recognize, it's just as valid to celebrate the accomplishments and moments in life of one of our employees in their 50s as it is one of our employees in their 20s, as it is, someone in their 30s and someone in their 40s and someone in their 60s, and having representation, feel comfortable pointing that out is what helped us. We kind of said, wait a minute, our leadership team shares a lot of demographic characteristics. Let's have a bigger conversation about this. And frankly, let's put someone in charge of it that doesn't share any of those demographic characteristics. And she just does a phenomenal job of recognizing what's important to each person to celebrate.
Well, and I think too, expanding, it's not just parental care that people are providing. It's family care. As we get older, our family members are getting older, and we may start to get calls about our parents who need some support. So I think you do have to normalize it. And I felt deeply what you were saying. I want to create and empower my staff to know if they say, I got to go, I have a family care obligation, do it.
And
no
blended families, I have staff that now is taking in a niece or nephew or things like that happens, or whatever is their family. I had a staff member, her dog got loose and got mauled by another dog, and she's like, they're getting rushed to the vet. I'm like, that's your family, go. It's okay. It's the same thing, go. Yeah. I'm really curious. I've been thinking about this as we're talking about this. Barb, how is it going for you being a small business owner where you could call all the shots to moving into a very regimented county structured system?
So as a small business owner, it was more rigid.
Really?
Yeah, because I was working the sales floor, and I was in charge of making sure people got paid and doing the orders. It was at the hardware store, and I sold the hardware store a few years back to my mother. So it's still in the family, but I sold it to my mom, and that was an amazing feeling because I was able to pay off law school. I love my job. I love public service. My mom was in public service, right, all growing up. And I remember watching all of the attacks that were made on her by her opponents, and I remember thinking, oh no, that's not the life for me. And I was wrong.
I was wrong.
I love public service. I had both of my humans when I was in the legislature.
Wow.
And there was some flexibility. I had better attendance in the Michigan House of Representatives than many of my male colleagues, and I gave birth to a baby twice. So that was a thing. But serving as an elected, I don't have a normal 8 to 5, right? I do a lot of night things. I do weekend things, and I'm able to make the schedule work for the family. And it's very rewarding. I mean, I've yet to find a protest that I haven't wanted to attend and register voters, and when my kids were young, we'd go by the Capitol and they'd say, "That's Mommy's building." And I'm like, "Well, not really. It's the people's." It's the people's building. Now that I'm at the county building, I'm closer to home, right? I have 2 offices right now, actually, Lansing and Mason, and it's very rewarding, the work I'm able to do, encouraging people to exercise their right to vote, and talking to them about local government and how important it is. And it's been interesting being a female in this space. I'm the first female county clerk. Let that set in for a second. In Ingham County. Yeah. And it was interesting coming in 2013 and being the only female countywide at the time. And some of my opinions and thoughts were not valued.
Say that again.
As
only female countywide?
Yeah, when I was first elected. Yeah, I was the first female county clerk for Ingham County. But sometimes my opinions and my thoughts weren't valued. Well, those people I don't think work for the county anymore. Because, when there is a concern,
Right.
there's a concern for a reason. And it's been very interesting and I'm very thankful for the women that have come before me, Diane Byrum, I've met her. Yeah. Debbie Stabenow was a county commissioner in Ingham County.
That's,
Gretchen Whitmer was a state rep. I mean, and these are all Ingham County amazing women that came before me. And I am thankful that when I have needed it, our community has come out and showed up. Back in 2012, Lisa Brown and I were silenced on the House floor during an omnibus abortion debate. Lisa said vagina, I said vasectomy. And we were silenced. The Speaker of the House would not allow us to speak the next day. I wanted to recognize people for Juneteenth, and he wouldn't even let me do that. And women showed up and performed vagina monologues on the Capitol steps.
Yeah. And Daily Show came to town.
Yeah, it was, the community showed up and supported us. And, 10 years later, they showed up again, and now we have reproductive freedom in Michigan. And women have showed up for me time and time again when I have had challenges. And I am so appreciative to the strong women that came before me, the strong women that stand beside me, and the strong women that are coming after me. I am excited because I have seen the changes. I owned a hardware store. There aren't many ladies in the hardware industry. And then I was in politics, and back then there weren't many ladies. And it's been wonderful to see the changes. There are more changes that are needed, but it's been great to see the progress. I just wish it would be faster. Maybe I should, grab some of your Red Bull and send it to others. Just to
Gives you wings.
Gives you wings. Yeah.
I'll use a set of those. You said over and over, women have showed up for me, women have showed up for me, women have showed up for me. But you've showed up for women.
I was going to say.
What are some of the ways, what are some of the times that each of you feel you've shown up for women and like the ones you're most proud of?
When Lisa and I were silenced on the House floor, I was from a pretty conservative House district. And so I was not comfortable performing at vagina monologues, but I did it. And then there was a dance for Planned Parenthood that I also did, and I shook my hips, and I don't do that because I want to get reelected. And
you're showing up for women.
And I was showing up for women, and I was so out of my comfort zone. But I think it's important that we use our voice. And I have a lot of young humans all around Ingham County that I've known their parents, and I'm friends with their parents. But like this young lady, like she's sassy, which I say is leadership skills.
Same.
And I wanna like encourage this. I wanna add some more fuel to that fire she's got going on. And so, I've been known to send little notes and stickers to young friends just to encourage them and let them know that their parents are proud of them. Like their parents are in survival mode right now, so they're probably not telling them that, but your parents are proud of you. So know that I recognize that your parents are proud of you, and just keep on doing the good things, because these young people, they are amazing. Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
When I think of what that looks like for me in terms of showing up, the one place that I think I've done that the most is in that mentoring space. That next generation for me is super important. Just like Barb said, pretty amazing. The things when we talk about social justice, a lot of the things that I hear about that are elevated, we talk about social media, TikTok and Instagram, but some of the things that those kids are talking about and are elevating are things that we talk about in the office and boardrooms, but they're talking about it as if they've been there, and encouraging them to speak up in those places and understand and have an understanding of what our differences are, the things that we've gone through over generations. I could pick, we're talking about gender disparities, but we could talk about racism. We could talk about what that means for people of color, and, just understanding that the generation now, they live in a very different space, a very different time that sometimes we can't even fathom how they function in this space.
So true.
Right. It's like how, but they're interested in where they came from. And they're looking back to figure out, how did we get there, and how did this shake out, and what can we do differently? And they're bolder than we are. And so giving them that opportunity, encouraging them. I also, in that space, I look out for people who, regardless of where they're from, whether here in the United States or otherwise, I'm Nigerian by descent. And so in other underserved communities, I really try to go out of my way to create opportunities for women in particular, but kids in general. I think that the next generation, making sure that they have what they need in that healthcare space, in that leadership space, is really important. So as you were talking, Kate, about what you do at work in terms of, just opening it up to celebrate everything across the board is really, that's leadership.
Oh, don't
That's-
make me cry.
It is leadership.
It is, because, our definition of leadership over the years also has evolved, right? And we're not doing the patriarchal thing anymore. It doesn't really work. And so figuring out how to incorporate that into everything you do is critical for how the next generation is going to show up for the world, because we're not going to be here for that much longer. I mean, that sounded morbid at the end.
I love it.
A little
But
bit,
I mean, you're the health director, so you know.
I promise, no more pandemic.
Okay,
No, I can't promise that.
Where do we knock on wood for that one? Somewhere inside of this cheap shoe has got to be like plywood.
Now, Rachel, I know you're already working with students and their families. How about for you? Is there anything that comes to mind immediately?
Oh my gosh, there were so many things. Like, actually, when Barb was talking, I was thinking, like, Barb has this reputation of, she will hold you accountable and, like, is really good at her job. But she is a cheerleader. Like, when she said there's not a protest, I haven't shied away from. Like, if you ever see Barb after 5, like, she is cheering. Like, she is showing up and she's cheering. And it just made me think, like, I'm so grateful to be here in Lansing and in the Ingham County area. Like, we have a Barb Byrum. We're home. Where Gretchen Whitmer came from. We have, Elizabeth Hertel, who's at the health department. We have Dr. Nikia. We are in a place where women celebrate women. We have Sarah Anthony.
So true.
Like, I just think of, like, when Sarah calls, I'm coming. Barb calls, I'm coming.
Right.
So I'm just so thankful that there's so many places that this is a place where women support women. Kate, you and I met each other serving on a board.
Back in the day.
Right? But it was serving on a board because we were working and helping in this community. Like, we have female CEOs of large corporations here, female CEOs, female leaders. Like, it just makes me very proud to be here and show up. So I'm not necessarily, like, answering your question, but, like, it's like, it's like hashtag who wins the world, girls. Like, that's just what I'm just feeling. Like, it's just very thankful to have that as an example. I'm thankful that girls can see, like, I'm a girl. I saw a girl do that once. I saw a girl become a doctor. I saw a girl on the house floor. I saw a girl tell a man no. I saw a girl take sassy as a compliment and take it as a leadership skill. Like, that's just what I excited to be part of.
So deeply. I didn't grow up here in Lansing. I grew up north by Traverse City. I came here to go to Michigan State, and I was like, I'm never leaving this place.
Right.
Because there is so much opportunity. And there's not a place like this that I've been to where you see women showing up for women. And it's a pretty special dynamic. And, sometimes women are in competition with each other and they aren't each other's cheerleaders. I truly not really felt that.
Yeah.
I feel like here it's all about, let's come together, let's rally, let's make sure we're focusing where action is needed to support each other, and it's pretty amazing.
We over collaborate, if anything, in this community, and let that be the problem.
Right.
Like, honestly,
Right.
let over collaboration be the issue.
Right.
That's the
So
worst. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about, even though I'm in PR, whenever I have to give an interview, because I don't often, speaking on behalf of a client is one thing, but whenever I have to give an interview as Kate, CEO, I just dread it coming out. I dread oh God, what am I gonna say? I'm a loose cannon. I am like, oh man, where's this gonna go? And then I read it and I'm like, that was, oh boy. But a couple of years ago, I did an interview with Medium, and I don't know why that day was the day that I probably had therapy that morning or something. But I was very much on, yeah, exactly. I used to be a Friday therapy girl because I was like, yeah, get it all out before going into the weekend. And then when my therapist changed her schedule, she drew boundaries. Oh, good job, Dr. Weiss. But, so I became a Monday therapy person. So now we get ready for the week. Also nice. But I just talked so much during that interview about mental health and the importance of mental health, destigmatizing, even what is mental health, everything from anxiety to depression to burnout to overwhelm to all of the different, clinical diagnoses and neurodivergence from a norm that doesn't exist, and just all these different things, right? And the importance of talking openly and candidly in the workplace about mental health, which is an HR violation left and right. But
you can self-disclose anything that you feel comfortable.
When COVID hit, and we work a lot with public health clients. And then, so literally every client was in crisis. Every client was in crisis, right? Whether it was Camel having to shut down and how are we going to serve 1,000 people a day remotely when we've never had that structure before, to y'all and MPHI, oh boy. We'll see you guys in a bit. So we were all in this state where our team wasn't on the front lines, but we were trying to support the front lines, and it really, we had to talk about mental health, but we'd already been in a place where we talked about that a lot. Therapy is on the calendar, people, their therapy sessions say therapy, or we know everybody's therapist's names. And if that's on there, you don't ask someone to move that. No, that is not. Or we know who's there. My therapist has a relatively flexible schedule, so we know, okay, are you able to move therapy that day? But some other people, if they can't get it that week, they're not getting it. So in this interview, I talked about all that kind of stuff and how I believe that every human should be in therapy. There's not a single one of us that can benefit from it, but not everyone has access to it.
Right.
Not everyone has access to therapists that can understand their experiences, right? We have a shortage of male therapists. We have a shortage of therapists of color. We have a shortage of therapists as a whole. And when that article published, that was the first article in my 20 plus year career where I was nailed it.
Oh,
yeah.
Good for you.
I showed up for, women talking about the importance of this and the disproportionate share of mental burdens that we take on and the access issues and just all these things and the fact that it's women in these careers primarily, which is unfair to begin with. And just, it was the one time that I did an interview and I was like, yeah, I did what I train other people to do. But it was a topic I was personally passionate about, that I was, personally care about and benefit from. And now I've got my kid in therapy, and I can't even say how grateful I am that we looked into just a friggin' amazing human that is meant to work with children. And even just in the couple of months, the differences, and Therapy for all, back on the soapbox. So that's the one time that I really felt like I showed up and was able to get across all those complicated thoughts in my head that I wanted to get across. So, y'all, we're going to skip a whole segment because we just had the how did you show up. That's going to replace our facts and feelings. We'll save the dream gap for another time. So with that, we have to wrap up. I can't believe it. It's sad. I don't want to. But I hope we'll still be able to continue the conversation. We're going to give you a couple of seconds to think about your biggest takeaways. The 3 words that you kind of are taking away or you would like others to take away. And while you're thinking,
I want to thank you all again for spending some time with us today. I hope that everybody who is listening or listens in the future to this takes away half of what I've taken away from listening to all of you today. So thank you for spending time with us. I want to thank Barb, our Ingham County Clerk, for joining us today. I want to thank Adenike for being able to join us today as our Chief Medical Officer at the Ingham County Health Department. I know that's a big job, and so thank you for all the work you do there to support our community as well. And Rachel, I want to thank you as well, President of the Lansing School District Board of Education. Thank you for the amazing work you're doing to help make sure our future generation of females are empowered like all of us hopefully feel we are.
okay, I can share my 3 words first. And I'm going to go a little off the beaten path here. My 3 words today are Barb, Nike, Rachel. Because, like, this was just great. Like, thanks. Thank you. Getting to listen, getting to interact, getting to learn. Thank you. This is such a great dialogue, and I'm so grateful for it. Who
And
else?
I'll share too. Mine that I'm taking away are to use your voice. You all talked about the importance of standing up and taking a stance and sticking up for other women, and that's something I think that all of us can relate to, and so that's what I'm taking away as a reminder to myself. Rachel, how about you?
Well, one, Kate, you're just totally going to have us back, so that's fine, too.
That'd be great.
Round 2.
And round 2. And I don't know if I have 3 words, but I have 3 themes,
Yes.
and they are show up, even in big and little moments, because we talked about some of the big ways that you show up for other women, but there's also small ways, and I could do a whole segment on how people have just been in that space for me in those small moments. I love talking about what's behind the bio as a way to get to know people better. And this 3rd one is that Barb runs by choice. I don't know. It's going to stick with me after I leave today. So those are my 3.
Yeah, I do that.
Barb, how about you? What are your 3?
Yeah, so they're phrases. So spicy, neurodivergent, like that kind of. I thought that was. I want to Google it and
My
learn
friend,
more.
I hat tip to my friend Celia, who always uses that term, and like got me on the neurospicy train. So,
and then therapy for all. I think that spoke to me too. And then sassy. I hear sassy all the time, and it is one of the best leadership skills I think a young person can have. And so, yeah.
I'm with you on that one. Adenike?
So I'm with Barb on the neurospicy. Like I wrote
saw
that
them both
down.
jot
Like
it
that
down.
was the first thing. I wrote that down at the very beginning. So I'm just gonna go with it and repeat it again because it's worth repeating. And you know, it does as we talk about mental health, it does normalize the fact that we're different, and just because we don't all that normal isn't
It doesn't
normal.
exist.
Yeah.
It's not a thing.
show me the one. Show me the one that we're all diverging from.
Yeah. So
Right.
And so I love that. The other thing that I heard is support. Just the mere fact that we talked about what we do for each other here. I remember, Barb, when I got appointed, like you knew, my predecessor, Linda Vale, who was amazing, an amazing boss, showed up for Ingham County during the pandemic. And when I became medical health officer, I got a letter, like a card from her that was mailed to me, just congratulating me. And that was big support. So I do remember that meant a lot. So supporting each other, just hearing everybody today makes me feel like even within this community, I want to do more of that. And then the last piece that I heard, Rachel, I heard you talk a lot about legacy. You talked a lot about your mom and what what your family did and how that has really formed, has driven what you do today. And I think that's really important for all of us to consistently think about that. What is it that I do today that's going to matter tomorrow? Not just because I want my name written on something, but because it's going to mean something to somebody else.
So powerful.
So powerful. We are definitely going to have to do another session.
I do want to come back with this, guys.
Yes,
so,
we'll make sure
gotta
that
go.
All right, yeah. We got you.
So on that note, I'm Carrie Rosingana, the CEO of Capital Area Michigan Works.
And I'm Kate Snyder. I'm the CEO at Piper & Gold Public Relations. And want to thank you so much, truly, from the bottom of my heart. And we can't wait to welcome a new group of guests for more amazing conversations in our Women in Workforce series. We hope you'll join us for those as well. Thank you.